He didn't know her name. He didn't know where she came from. All he knew was at the moment her eyes fluttered open and his arms' eyes dark as midnight river, shining with fear, pain, and something he couldn't name. His heart left him completely, and he had no idea that saving her would pull him into a story far bigger, far more dangerous, and far more life-changing than anything he'd ever lived. The wind crawled across the evening plains like a wounded animal, dragging dust over the dying sunlight. Elijah Hayes tugged the reins of his horse, looking toward the crimson horizon. He had been riding for hours, searching for stray cattle, but fate had other plans. A faint shape caught his eye near a cluster of jagged rocks, too stiff to be an animal, too soft in outline to be anything but human. His chest tightened. He dismounted, boots crunching over dry earth. As he came closer, he saw her young, motionless, half buried under dust and dried grass. A native woman, wrapped in torn cloth, her long hair tangled with twigs, her face streaked with dirt and blood. She was breathing but barely. Elijah knelt, touching her wrist. Weak, cold, she looked as if the world had tried to erase her. He lifted her into his arms, feeling her ribs too thin, too fragile. Something inside him cracked. He didn't know why it hurt so much to see a stranger like this, but it did. He mounted his horse with her in his grip, whispering, "Stay with me, whoever you are. Stay with me." The sky darkened as he rode hard toward his cabin. By the time he reached home, the stars were out, watching silently as he carried her inside. He laid her on his narrow bed and lit a lantern. Her skin was burning with fever. Bruises patterned her arms. Her breathing trembled like she was fighting something even in her sleep. He dipped a cloth in cool water and touched her forehead. She flinched, whispering something he didn't understand, a language soft as river water. He stayed beside her the whole night, and just before dawn, when the world turned silver and quiet, her eyelashes fluttered. Slowly, painfully, she opened her eyes. For one impossible moment, Elijah forgot how to breathe. Her eyes held stories. Her eyes held sorrow. Her eyes held fire. He didn't know it then, but in that heartbeat, his life had already changed. When her eyes opened, Elijah felt a jolt in his chest so sudden it frightened him. He'd seen beauty in his lifetime, sunsets over red canyons, spring storms breaking across the land, but nothing like this. Her eyes were deep and alive. Even though her body was broken, they carried the wildness of mountains and the gentleness of rivers. They carried a truth he didn't know he needed, but fear lived there too. She tried to sit up, wincing. Pain shot across her face, and she cried out softly, clutching her side. Elijah steadied her gently. "Easy, you're safe," he said, voice low, calming. She blinked at him, breathing unevenly. "Where am I?" Her accent was soft, her words careful, like she was not used to speaking English. "My cabin. I found you near the rocks, unconscious." He paused. "I'm Elijah Hayes." She didn't answer right away. Her gaze drifted to the lantern, flickering gold on the walls, then to the bandages he had wrapped around her, then back to him, studying him as if trying to decide whether he was truth or danger. "I'm Ayanna," she whispered. A beautiful name, he thought. It suited her perfectly. "What happened?" he asked softly. Ayanna looked away, jaw tightening. Her fingers gripped the blanket like she was afraid it would be taken from her. "My village burned." Her voice cracked. "My family gone. I ran. Men followed. I thought," she swallowed. "I thought I would die out there." Elijah felt something hot rise in his chest, anger, grief, compassion all tangled together. "Not while I'm around," he said. She looked at him strangely, as though no one had ever spoken to her like that before. He fetched warm broth and helped her sip it slowly. Her hands trembled. Her shoulders shook. She tried to hide it, but he saw her fighting not to collapse again, this time from emotions, not wounds. When she finished eating, she leaned back weakly, exhaustion pulling her down. "You saved me," she whispered. Elijah didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to being anyone's hero, but somehow he felt he wanted to be hers. Days passed. Ayanna healed slowly, and during that time Elijah learned pieces of her story, how she had wandered, hunted, survived storms, escaped men who tried to capture her. She was stronger than she looked, braver than she believed, but the pain in her eyes never fully faded. Sometimes she stared out the window for long minutes. Sometimes she cried quietly at night. Elijah pretended he didn't hear, but he did. Every tear carved a mark in him. They cooked together, laughed hesitantly, shared stories by the fire, and something grew between them, not a spark, but a slow, warm light neither of them had expected. Yet every time she smiled, Elijah felt an ache, because somewhere deep inside, he knew she wasn't meant to stay in this small wooden cabin forever. But that truth didn't stop his heart from falling anyway. And his heart fell deeply. Ayanna walked outside one morning, her feet still unsteady but stronger than before. The sky was bright blue, stretching endlessly above the plains. She lifted her face to the sun and breathed deeply. Elijah watched from the doorway, arms crossed, trying to ignore the feeling that this moment mattered more than it should. "You miss your home," Elijah said quietly. Ayanna didn't turn at first. The wind played with her hair, carrying the scent of sagebrush. Finally she nodded. "There are memories there," she said, "good ones, and shadows too." He stepped beside her. "You don't have to face any of it alone." She looked at him, not shy, not uncertain, but with a raw honesty that startled him. "Why are you so kind to me?" she asked. "You owe me nothing." He swallowed. "Maybe I don't. But sometimes the heart chooses before the mind understands." Ayanna studied him for a long moment, her eyes softening as if she understood exactly what he couldn't say. But before either could speak again, distant hoofbeats echoed across the land. Elijah stiffened. A group of riders approached, 5 men, rough-looking, armed. The same kind of men who had chased Ayanna through the wilderness. Her breath hitched. Elijah stepped in front of her instinctively. The riders halted a few yards away. Their leader sneered. "We're looking for a runaway, a native girl. Small thing. Probably scared. You seen her?" Elijah felt the anger he'd been holding since the night he found her surge through him. "No," he lied. "Haven't seen anyone." The man leaned forward. "Mind if we look around?" Elijah's jaw clenched. "You step 1 foot on my land without permission," he said quietly, "and you won't leave the same way." The tension snapped like a cocked rifle. For a moment, the men hesitated, then one scoffed and turned his horse away. "Ain't worth it." "Smawn." They rode off, dust trailing behind them. Ayanna collapsed in relief, trembling. Elijah caught her before she fell. "You protected me," she whispered. "I always will," he said, and he meant it with everything he had. But Ayanna didn't want to live in fear forever. She wanted a life again, a real one. She wanted to rebuild, to belong somewhere, to find healing beyond survival. Elijah knew what she needed, even if it tore at him. The next morning she packed a small bundle of the clothes he'd mended for her. She turned to him, hesitant. "Elijah, you saved my life. But now I must save my spirit. I cannot hide forever." His chest tightened. "I know." She stepped closer, placing her hand over his heart. "This will always carry your name." He swallowed hard. His voice almost broke. "Will I ever see you again?" Ayanna smiled, a soft, heartbreaking smile filled with gratitude and something deeper. "Yes," she whispered, "because the heart remembers its way home." She walked away slowly, sunlight crowning her silhouette, and Elijah stood on the porch, watching the woman he had saved, the woman who had unknowingly stolen his heart the moment she opened her eyes, walked toward her future with strength, beauty, and hope. He didn't follow her, but he waited, and every sunrise he believed she would return, because love, true love, never loses its way.